And there'll be times when we will actually ask you questions, and during that process we will ask you to then respond back to us using the question pane. So underneath that question pane, you'll see there's a section there that tells you where you can actually type message here, and that's where you're going to do your typing if you want to put in a question or put in an answer for us. You'll also see that there's a small little hand that's pointing up, and that hand is if you need to put your hand up. There'll be an opportunity for us to do a bit of a poll in that I'll ask you a question and say if you agree, put your hand up. So you can click on that to put it up, and then we will go ahead and put it back down for you afterwards. So as you can see, there's the box for the enter the question area. So that'll give you an opportunity. So if you would like, you can type in there right now just the club that you belong to, just so we can give you an opportunity to practice that. I see some of you have been using it already. That's great. Oh, and we've got Port Carling and Barrie South, Gravenhurst, Pembroke, Oro. I know we have a couple of people that are outside of A12 as well. City Lions, Blackstock, Bracebridge. Great. So you guys, A1, you guys have found the box. That's wonderful. Okay, now the other question I would like to ask you right now is basically I want to find out what you are expecting. So if you can just briefly put into some words what you're expecting tonight. What is it that you are hoping to learn? If you could type that into your question box. Lots. Cold beer. Okay.
These are my kind of participants.
Because what we're hoping to find out is if there's some material that you're hoping to learn and we hadn't originally planned it in the material that we have, if we have time and if we have the answers for you, we would definitely like to address that as we get towards the end. And okay.
Hey Ruth, I noticed that your PowerPoint is still in presenter mode.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the view here, so nope, that's black.
Okay.
It is.
Not quite.
It's.
Do you have yours up?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Well, nope. Whoops. I just.
Okay.
Oh, you're back to you.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out how to get it back up there, but. Is that better?
Oh, I can't see it all here. Oh, there you're now you're good. Perfect.
Okay.
Hey, now we're good.
Sorry about that, folks. All right, so we've got a bunch of some options that have been listed here, and some things that we will be covering and a few things that we had not originally planned to. So I will come back to this list in a little bit. Well, actually not a little bit, but more towards the end. Okay, so let's just quickly go over the agenda that we did put together for you. We are going to talk about the guidebook, which was the handout. Now, if you did not receive it, don't panic. There is a place on your little guide that gives you an option to download the handouts right from there. If not, you should check your email and they will be there. We're going to talk about the purpose of this particular webinar and how hopefully it's going to help you. We'll discuss the sponsor's role in all of this, the financial responsibilities that you need to share with your prospective members, the induction and how to handle that as far as letting them know. We're going to talk about your different types of meetings. We're going to refer to your fundraisers and service projects. We're going to talk about training, orientation being part of that training, but other training as well. And our last point, we'll be talking about bringing your members with you to different events. So that's the agenda that we have right now. And we're going to talk about, first of all, the guidebook. The guidebook is something that we put together, and it's available both in Word and PDF version. So if you can't open the Word one, go to the PDF version. If you can't open either, send us an email. We will be providing our email addresses at the end of the session so that we can help you get a copy that you can open. Now, what you need to recognize is that the guidebook is really just a set of guidelines for you to use to guide you through the actual process of getting ready to put your new member through an orientation. In other words, we're hoping that as a guide, it means that you can adjust it to fit your club. You can take out things that don't fit your club. You can put things back in that do. So you can make changes as you go along, and that's why we gave it to you in the Word version, so you could actually make physical changes to it. There are sections in there as well where we want you to actually fill in the blanks. And the reason for that is, again, every club is a little different. Every club has their own way of doing things, and so we wanted to give you some flexibility. So the sections that we thought, well, okay, pretty much every club's going to use this, but they may call it something different, or maybe a different person's name, so we left the blanks there for you to fill in. And then, of course, we're hoping for feedback. We want you to go through this material. We want you to then share with us how it's working for you, because we firmly believe that feedback is a two-way street. We're going to share with you, but we want you to come back and share with us. Tell us what sort of things you added in for your club, or what sort of things you think should have been added in, because if it's something that all Lions clubs can benefit from, then what the heck, why not share with all of us? So please think about it, share immediately during this process if you can, and or afterwards as well. Okay, so the purpose, basically we want to do is welcome you to this A12 orientation webinar. And it's a webinar on how to do club orientation for new members. It's not an actual orientation itself. I'm not going to talk about Melvin Jones. I'm not going to talk about 1917. What we're basically going to be doing is we're going to focus a little bit closer to home and talk about how to get orientation going for your member at your club level, at the zone level, region, and district level. The purpose is also to educate, and what we're hoping to do is to help you educate your new Lions about your club, about your zone, region, district. The items that we've included for you to educate your new members is just a starting point, because again, as we mentioned, every club's unique. So you probably want to add some things or change some things as we go along. Support, meaning that we want you to actually understand that we're here to help support you, support your sponsors of the new members that are coming into your club. We want to make sure that not only does your sponsor and your membership committee and other Lions in your club have the support, but that your new member is going to have it as well. We also want to make sure that we help you get your new members involved as quickly as possible. We find that the members that are happiest in a club are usually the ones that are active. So we want you to involve them as quickly as you can. And we have some ideas, and we'll go through some of those. Because we want them involved at your club meeting, your fundraisers and service activities, obviously, but also at the zone and district level. And we find that by doing these sort of things, we are actually helping to close the back door. You've probably heard the term that we keep bringing in new members, but unfortunately our total numbers don't move up that much because we're losing too many out the back door. We find that by involving more people in the orientation of new members, everybody gets a bit more satisfaction out of it, and that helps to keep them from saying, what am I doing here? So hopefully that will help not only your new members, but also your existing members. What I want you to do now is I want you to think back to your introduction to Lions. It might have been a year ago, it might have been 30 years ago, whatever. Think back as to how you were introduced. How did you actually get into Lions? What made you say, yes, I will join this club? I know for myself, I'll be honest, it was selfish. My husband and I had just moved from Ontario to BC. We didn't know anybody out there except for my boss, and my husband said to me, well, we could meet a lot of people our age group with the same values and beliefs that we have very quickly. And I looked at him and went, yeah, sure, right. He said, no, I'm serious. My husband apparently had belonged to Lions before I met him. And so he said, all I have to do is find the local Lions Club and join, and we will be meeting tons of people. And you know, he was right. And that was over 35 years ago. We are both so thankful that we did that because we have really, really enjoyed Lions. So think back now. Did you have an orientation when you joined Lions? I would like you to use your question box now and tell me either yes, no, or not sure, because sometimes it's too long ago that we can't remember. So go ahead and let me know, yes, no, or unsure. That'll just help us get an idea of our audience tonight.
It's looking like a whole lot of
Well,
no's,
okay.
So,
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, that says a lot, and don't feel bad. There's a lot of people that have not had the pleasure of an orientation, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to change that. We're trying to make it easy for people to help their new Lions coming in to get an orientation. Now, District A12 is different from what I was used to out west. A12 is very fortunate that they're able to put on orientation sessions at the region level. I'm not sure if there's any plan for this coming year, but if there is, find out from your zone chair or your region chair and make sure that you get as many of your club members to attend, not just your new members, but all of your existing members as well, because believe it or not, you can always learn something new at these sessions. Okay, so now, obviously, unless you're a charter person in a new club, a charter member, you usually have a sponsor. So my question is, and you don't have to share the answer to this, I just want you to think about it. Did your sponsor help you along when you were new in Lions? And like I said, that might be quite a few years ago for some of us. Sometimes our sponsors weren't really that comfortable doing that themselves, but someone else in the club comes along and mentors you. And I'll be honest, my husband and I were so fortunate. We were a Lion who mentored both of us and did such a wonderful job. We were so thankful to have him. So thinking of the answers to those two questions I just asked you, if you did get a sponsor who did that process, you probably realize the value in that. If you didn't, I'm hoping you are now starting to realize the value that it will have on your new members when you bring them in. And if you're a new member yourself, then I'd like you to think about how it might be really great if you could find someone to mentor you in your club. So we're just going to go through that process. Now with sponsors have a responsibility. So I'd like to find out by a show of hands, if I could, how many of you actually have sponsored someone, have sponsored new members into a club? Oh, lots of hands. Oh, wonderful. That's great. That's really great. There was a lot of hands there. That's really wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Now, to become a sponsor means basically asking the question of, okay, my PowerPoint's not working. There we go. Basically, it's a point of asking the question to somebody. You know, would you like to join our club? And I'm going to be honest with you, not everybody's comfortable with asking that question. And the reason for that is because of the fact that they get really nervous about getting that no answer. And my mentor was the first to tell me, you know, when someone says no when you ask them to join the club, thank them, and tell them that the door is always open for them. And then keep in mind that really that no wasn't a no, it was really not now. No, not now, or maybe not now, because if you leave the door open, there's always a chance that they'll come back through it later. So that was the sort of thing that made asking that question a little bit easier for me. So I'm not as afraid to get the no answer, because in my mind, it's not really no, it's no, not now. And that's okay. Leave the door open. I'll try again later. Now, some lions are really comfortable asking the question and really comfortable with, recruiting people. Those are usually people that we call influencers. People that are salespeople, people that are dealing with customer service all the time, people that do a lot of things in their work life or their home life where they're comfortable dealing with people and getting the no answer. Those influencers are usually pretty good about, again, accepting the no as a no then, but not giving up and going back again later. Other people are probably what we call, I won't say detailers, but finishers, people who don't mind sort of picking up and finishing off the job that needs to be done. Because when you're not sponsoring a new Lions member, you have to first of all ask them and get them in the club. And then once you've got them in the club, then you have to go through the process of making sure they're comfortable staying. And part of that is the orientation and the training and all the other stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. Some individuals are really lucky and they're both. They can influence somebody to say yes, and then they can do the necessary hand-holding that they need to do to get the person comfortable to stay. If you are one but not the other, that's okay too. If you're an influencer and know that you're not comfortable with, the hand-holding afterwards, that's fine. Work with somebody in your club who is willing to do the other half for you. So go ahead and ask them to join, then work with the other person to get the education process going for that new member. If you're the opposite, if you're not comfortable asking, but you're okay doing the hand-holding and educating, then again, find an influencer in your club and work with them. Eventually, you may find that if you work with them enough, you'll start to pick up some tricks of your own so that you can do that sort of stuff. Now, being a sponsor brings responsibilities with that, and the responsibility is basically to bring them in and keep them in. And by keeping them in, I'm talking about doing an orientation with them, walking them through the processes, educating them, picking them up, taking them to meetings, and all the other things that we're going to talk about. So when you're thinking of sponsoring, it can be done by yourself or it can be done in a team. Don't forget, within your club, you also have a membership committee, and that committee is also there to help you. Okay, who is who? On your particular first day or first meeting that you go to as a Lions Club, you see people sitting at the head table. You don't know who they are. You don't know what positions they hold. Heck, when I joined, I had no idea what a lion tamer or a tail twister did. I was also not sure, how to find out. So again, fortunately, my husband had been in Lions before, so he had an idea, but the mentor that was with us, our sponsor, he was able to actually work with us to let us know who they are, what they were doing, what their positions were, and that really helped us feel a little bit more comfortable about that. So try to keep that in mind with your particular club. When you bring in a new member, there's a lot of information that's new to them and confusing, so try to give it to them in little bits and pieces. There's other positions in your club that you may have to explain to your new member as well. Some clubs have bulletin editors or webmasters. Some have photographers as an actual position that's on the executive as well. Whatever those positions are, make sure that you explain those to your new member as well. And the fill-in page on the actual guidebook is there to help you with that. So you can actually go through the process, and on page 3, fill in the actual names of those individual positions and then add any new positions that we may not have covered. And don't forget your zone and district as well. Those are two other areas that you need to remember to describe to them. Now, one of the things that some people are a little uncomfortable about as well is sharing the financial responsibility that a new member may have to be made aware of. So when you want to bring somebody into the club, you have to have this information available to you ahead of time, because when they ask, you need to be able to answer the questions. So with the financial responsibility, there's obviously the dues. So we have dues that we pay to Lions Clubs International, and those are per member in US dollars, 43 for the year. We also have multiple district aid dues, which is Canadian, $14.50 per member per year. We also have A12 dues, which is $14 per member per year. So these are things that are sort of set out, and those figures are firm. The club administration one is the one that will change. That's the one that will vary because, again, every club runs differently, so every club's expenses are going to be different. So you need to know what portion of your dues is for the club administration so that you can break these down for your new members so that they have an idea. There are also other costs that you may need to make them aware of. If your club has meals and a bar, or if there's uniforms that you're expecting them to buy a vest or a golf shirt or a baseball cap, whatever. Some clubs also have pins as well that they sell. And then, of course, there are the fines and the raffles that often take place. So it's important to let any new member know what these amounts are so that they have an idea as to whether or not this is something that they can actually afford. With the induction, we actually are going through a process where we want to involve the membership committee. Because remember, the membership process is that when you invite someone to come, they need to fill out an application form with you. You then need to present that application form to your membership committee so that they can take it to the club for voting. When you're dealing with people that have not been exposed to Lions at all, it's important that they understand all of these steps. They need to understand that the induction is a process that we go through, and you need to make sure that the date and the time is convenient for them, but also convenient for your club. In some cases, some clubs will actually ask the zone chair or the region chair or the district governor to actually do the induction. Other clubs actually have an induction team that actually performs this task. So it's, again, up to your particular club as to how you're going to handle that. You also need to make sure that they understand the process. One of the members that I was sponsoring into our Lions Club, she was so petrified because she thought that there was, she didn't call it haze, but she said, am I going to have to wear a silly hat, or am I going to be blindfolded, or, you know, are they going to make me eat something stupid? She was really worried. And so I explained to her, no, gosh, no. The induction ceremony is an actual ceremony of dignity. It's meant to celebrate you coming into the club. So I went through the process with her. I told her how many people would be involved. You know, there's the actual zone chair that was going to do it, and the president was going to read the ethics, and somebody else was going to read the objects, and somebody else was going to light the candles for us, so that she understood that there were other people involved and what was actually going to take place, and, you know, what was going to happen before, during, as well as after. And that calmed her down enough so that she was more comfortable about coming. So make sure that you explain all of these things to them, because that will make a difference. And then there's the paraphernalia. You know, you need to explain things like the name tag. You know, it's also helpful if you explain to them why they should wear their name tag on the right side of their vest or jacket or whatever. And the reason for that is when you reach your right hand forward to shake someone's hand, you're bringing forward the right side of your body where the name tag is so the person can see it and read it and remember the name better. And we also believe that wearing the lion's pin on the left side means it's over your heart, and that's because we all love lions. Also let them know that they will be getting a certificate so that they have something to bring home. Some clubs actually frame it Others just leave it in the envelope. So again, whatever works out for you. They also need to understand that the orientation that can be done either before or after the induction ceremony is just part of it. Like there's a whole bunch of other things that they need to go through, and we'll talk about more. Next, we want to talk about the actual meetings. Now, again, this is in your booklet. It's number 3 of your guidebook. And we want to talk about the dates and times so that the prospective members understands that there are actual different types of meetings and what the dates and the times are for those meetings. For the types of meetings, you want to make sure that you explain to them if you have dinner meetings and if there's speakers at those dinner meetings, and the business meeting where a lot of the voting or decisions are made on club funds and stuff. And then there's also the executive meeting and who attends those and what those are about. So when you explain all of these things to them, they will then feel a lot more comfortable about attending those meetings. If they understand that the different meetings have different structures and different purposes, that encourages them to attend all the meetings then instead of just the dinner meetings. You also want to make sure that you talk about the location. In some cases, some clubs will have all of their meetings at the same place all the time. Others will have maybe the executive meetings at someone's home or at a smaller room rather than the larger room for the meals. So you need to share that with them. You need to make sure they understand where they can park, where it's safe, and carpool if necessary. In fact, I really encourage sponsors for the first few months to actually pick up their new member and drive them to the meeting. And the reason for that is when you walk in the room with that person, you can then be introducing them as you go through, shaking everyone's hand, so that they can hear the names repeated, and so eventually they will start putting the face with the name and the position and that sort of stuff. I also try to use the drive from their home to the meeting place as an opportunity to share with them what I'm expecting to happen at that meeting tonight. So it gives them an opportunity to absorb some of that information before we actually get to the meeting. There's also the meeting structure. By that I'm talking about letting the person know when to ask questions and how to make suggestions, and about the Robert's Rules of Order. Remember, we use the Robert's Rules of Order to help us run a smooth meeting. Not everyone knows those, and we use them as a guideline. Remember, a guideline. So share with them what you know about that, so that again they will feel comfortable with people putting their hand up to make a motion and seconding it and actually voting on it, that sort of stuff. And we also want you to share with them fundraisers and how they work. We would love for you to actually inform them of your top 3 fundraisers. So share with those, and again on the booklet on page 5 we have a place for you to write those in, where you put in the name of it, the time of year, and who's chairing it. And by sharing with them those top 3 fundraisers right away, they have an idea of where the money's coming from. You also want to make sure that they understand what sort of positions are required to actually run that particular event, so that they understand, oh wow, they need a lot of people, or no, here at this particular event they only need a few people, so that they have an idea in case it's something they would like to get involved in. You also want to make sure that they understand that for fundraisers, we are raising funds from the public. So one of the things Lions are very proud about is we then use that money to go back to the public. We use our dues to cover the cost of running the club, and we use public funds as the dollars and cents that we're going to donate or give to charities. And so we distinguish those two very clearly. We have 2 different accounts. We have the club account where the fundraising money goes in, and then and then we have the charity. Oh, I got that backwards. The club account is where the dues go in to cover our club expenses, and then we have our charity account where the fundraising money goes in, that we then write our checks to different charities and donations. So we keep those separate, and that makes us really proud that we do that. Let them know how many members are going to be needed at the next 3, so if they want to volunteer for one of them, that's great. Also encourage them to bring people with them. If they can, get them to bring their family and their friends. We find a lot of times that the new members that have just joined your club and got active right away are usually the same ones that then sponsor another member very quickly. So encourage them to bring family and friends to any of your events. Ask them to join one of the committees if necessary. And by doing so, that'll do a couple of things. I found for myself, and I'm sure Chris or Kathy can pipe in here as well, by joining a committee, not only do you know a little bit more about that one particular event, but I find that it's also a really good time to start understanding and meeting individuals and getting to know them a little bit better. Chris or...
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I think once you get them on a committee very early on, then because the committee tends to be a little bit smaller, they start to connect and they start to bond with 3 or 4 or 5 people that might be on the committee, and they start seeing the real work that the club is doing outside of just meetings and stuff, right? So I think it's really important getting them onto a committee right away.
Yeah, and I concur, Chris. I agree 100%.
Great. Thank you both. Chris, can I just sort of slow myself down a little bit here and ask you,
Sure.
Are there any questions on the question panes that we should be including so that everybody can hear the question and the answer?
Dave just commented. He said working on an event is the best time to get to know other Lions, and he's absolutely right. You know, at a meeting, sometimes you get hung up with meeting stuff, but out at an event or a project, that's really where you get to know your people and you laugh and joke and so on. So I think that's great. So,
Great.
Angela Rose says, even though we have 24 members, we usually have half who are active, so having committees is hard to put together. We typically have leads for events and so on. So that's a bit of a challenge too, isn't it, in smaller clubs?
Yes, it is. That's a good idea, Angela, and that means that you still have everybody participating and hopefully getting the hands and help that you need doing it that way. Good for you.
Yeah, because the thing is, the committee still, the work still has to get done. So whether you have 5 or 6 or 8 people on a committee or just sort of a coordinator for the job, it's still pretty much the same, right?
And I see that Jamie just mentioned that they include committee briefs for all new members to inform of their purpose. Good for you. That's wonderful. That's the sort of sharing we like to do. Okay, so with service projects, again, we want you to share the top 3, and again, there's a place for you to write them on the actual guidebook, so you can fill that in, again, the name, the time of year, and who's chairing it. And by talking to them about service projects, what you're basically trying to do here is explain to them who is it that the Lions are helping, who is it that's going to benefit from these actual service projects. Explain what they're about, and then ask them to come and do one with you. And I found that a lot of times when I'm talking to prospective members, most of them are more interested in working on a service project than they are a fundraiser. And I think it's because of that need to give back to the community. With a fundraiser, you're sort of taking money in from the public, and it may be months later before you actually use that money and give it back out again. Whereas with a service project, the community is getting that help immediately. So again, if you can, make sure that you fill in all those blanks before you get a chance to sit down and talk with your prospective member. The next area we're going to talk about is training. And we do have the Lions Learning Weekend that's going to be coming up real soon. I forgot the dates. I'm sorry. I have them written down, but I can't remember now.
It's this weekend coming up.
Thank you. I knew it was real soon. Okay, the Lions Learning Weekend, I went to a couple before my husband got sick, so I had the opportunity to do that. And I was so impressed. It's not something that was done in the district that I came from originally, but wow, that's all I can say is wow. I mean, I think it's just so wonderful. the Lions Learning Weekend is a great opportunity. So if you haven't been, been to one yet, please do, because I think you'll really, really enjoy it. We also have membership webinars and membership workshops, and for both of those, A12 does have a website that you can go to find out when they're going to be and just get involved. Chris, did you want to do any promoting here?
Yeah, my next membership-related workshop or webinar rather is coming up on April 3rd at 7:30 p.m. It's a Sunday night, and it's all about service and how important service is as a membership recruitment tool. And then we're also going to spend some time talking about the annual Lions Day of Service and how the clubs in A12 can participate fully in that event.
Great. Wonderful. And please, people, if you haven't signed up for it yet, please do. I find, too, that when we actually talk about the training within the Lions, I know out west as well as here, the training is good quality training. We have wonderful facilitators that are excellent. They've been through extensive training themselves. And the skills that they share with you, those are skills that you can use not only in your Lions Club, but also in your home life, with your family, and also in your jobs. And in fact, we used to encourage people to include those skill sets on their resumes. I know when I was a manager and I was hiring, if anybody put down any volunteering, I asked a lot of questions about that because that told me a lot about that individual. So if you get a chance to update your resume, include any training that you receive from Lions as well. We also have Lions resources. We have the resources at the club, district, multiple district, and international levels. You'll find, if you haven't already, there are knowledgeable Lions on the cabinet at the district level and multiple district level. We also have wonderful resources online with our web pages at the district and multiple district, and again international level. So if you haven't had a chance to look at those, go ahead. If your new members are really computer savvy, make sure that they're aware of those as well, so that they can actually have an opportunity to see what those are about. So we have trained people, we have people that specialize like Chris and Kathy on the leadership side, Chris on the membership side. These years, that's their focus right now, so they're really, really strong, experienced and knowledgeable people on those particular things as well as other subjects, but that's their specialty right now. And if you go through the district cabinet chairs, you'll see there's a lot of other people that are specializing in other areas. So, make that a bit of a homework for you, I guess. This last section is something that I included because it was one of my ways of learning. It was, to me, the best way for me to learn. And in fact, Chris and I were talking about it earlier. I learned more sitting on the floor of a hospitality suite with a drink in my hand, talking to Lions. I learned more about Lions that way than I did in any classroom. I really did. And when we carpooled, when we were driving to or from an event, it was amazing how much we learned just by sharing the information or asking questions of the most senior Lion in the vehicle, and it was really, really beneficial to all of us. So when you can, bring your member to an executive board meeting. Yes, they're automatically going to come to your regular meetings, but bring them to an executive board meeting so they have a good understanding of the difference between what happens at a board meeting versus what happens at a regular meeting. Make sure you let the president know you're bringing somebody to do that, so that, if there's some things that they need to explain, because again, we tend to use acronyms and terminology that is very Lions specific, if there's a new member there, that usually encourages the president to elaborate on some of those. Bring your new member to a club visitation, preferably a club in the area that knows how to run fun meetings. I find that you can learn a lot by visiting another club. You can learn what to do as well as what not to do. You can get some great ideas for tail twisting. You can pick up some ideas on different fundraisers or service activities that your club may not be aware of just by visiting other clubs and sharing. Again, I'm big on that sort of sharing. And again, like I say, the card ride there, what we would do when we were driving to a club visitation, we would explain to the new member what this club was about, where they were located, what were they well known for. And then we would be there for the meeting and make sure they got introduced to everyone. On the way back, that's where we would, sort of debrief and talk about what happened at the meeting and, geez, what sort of these things can we bring to our club and do at our club. So take advantage of something like that. Take them to a zone meeting or a region rally. I mean, again, this is where they get an opportunity to meet people from other areas. They get to meet the zone chair and see what they do and the region chair. So if you can, try again to carpool and try to make sure that they get an opportunity to sit in on one of these types of meetings. The cabinet meetings, some people find them a little too dry, but if you don't get to a cabinet meeting, at least try to get them to a convention where they can see that in addition to Lions working hard in the community, they also work hard on the larger community, being nationally and internationally. So if you get a chance, do that. There's also an opportunity for them to see how we can have fun and how we acknowledge and recognize people, because that's what we do at our conventions. The only thing I ask is that you not do all of this at once. We want to try to make sure we sort of space those out a little bit. So if we can, spread them out over a few months at least. Okay, so we've covered a lot of material, and I've done it sort of quickly, so I'm going to just slow down. Are there any particular questions, Chris, that we need to address here before we go back to their original list of what they wanted to learn tonight? Oh, and yeah, Dave Durant reminded us about Lions University. Yes, yeah, that's another opportunity.
Definitely reminded us about Lions University, which is a great resource. But he also commented that clubs don't seem to do visitations as much as they used to, which I think is really unfortunate, because I know I learned a lot as a new Lion from my travels with my sponsor and other members of my club.
Yeah, we had the same problem at one time, and what we ended up doing was the zone chairs, the year I was zone chair, we ended up having a contest of the number of visits and the number of members to those visits, so that we could, create some competition among the clubs in our zone so that they were getting points for that, and if they visit any club outside of the zone, they got even more points for that, and so there was a bit of a trophy and some prizes at the end of it.
Yeah, maybe those are the things we have to get back to. Shelley comments that she thinks we got out of the habit of visiting when the price of gas skyrocketed, and now that it's dropped a little bit, we're not in the visitation mode again. So.
Good point. Yeah. Yes, because gas definitely is a factor in that.
Dave comments that A12 has a district orientation manual, which he recommends is sent out to every new Lion by the district governor, and that's definitely a worthwhile thing.
Absolutely. Good.
What other little comments do we have here? Bob also says you got to be careful of ride checks now that when you're doing these visits. So that's definitely me and my beer. Yes. Nancy says, I'd like to reiterate the basic Lions mentoring program. It really encapsulates everything we're talking about. And that's absolutely right. It's all about mentoring and sponsors really guiding a new member along the path to being a successful Lion.
Mm-hmm.
What else do we have here? Some other questions.
Okay, I'm looking at some of the comments that were made when I asked, what was it you were hoping to learn tonight, and we obviously have some people from A16 who are asking, how does A12 do things differently from A16? Well, Eleanor, I hope you heard some of those things. How to attract new Lions members. Well, Jamie, I'll give my bit, and then I'll let Chris and Kathy or anyone else pipe in as well. I personally believe that the best way is to promote yourselves while you're doing service projects. Yes, at fundraisers too, but more so at service projects. So if you're out in the public doing a service project, always have either membership cards, the little cards that you can hand out, or a club brochure, something that will promote and give them a name and number to contact. Because a lot of times people won't want to join right then and there, obviously, but if they can go home with something in their hand to read over and then have a contact to get in touch with, that encourages people to join.
You're very right. I think you hit it on the head. Service is what really, I believe, attracts members. When they see us doing things and doing things to benefit the community, people want to be part of it. They want to see. They want to be part of the fun that you're having and the satisfaction you're having of serving people. It's all about service. I don't think working a fundraiser attracts people nearly as much as a service project. So.
I have to agree with you, Chris. It is all service.
There's a couple of interesting comments here. Tim says, anyone thought of inviting new members to your house for dinner or to get to know them more about them outside of a meeting structure? Yeah, and there were a couple of comments about that, about doing social events or social things outside club meetings as a club, and I think that's a great way to really, I guess, understand and learn about the new member and be able to talk a little bit about the organization as well while you're having a meal. So I think that's pretty important.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, any new questions that are coming up? Because I'm sort of going through. Okay, Jim's hoping for any type of information because they have some new people coming on board. So Jim, if there's something specific you would like to ask, please don't hesitate.
There was a comment, Ruth, about a comparison between Probus and Lions, and I think as far as socially, that's up to the individual club. I can remember when I first joined the club I was in, we did social things. We had a Christmas party. All the houses were invited, and we went to the berry races, and we did all kinds of social things. So I think that's up to the individual club, and yes, that's what Probus does. That's their main function, is to have a social action between community members.
Great.
I see here Cliff has a comment. He said, how do you get club members to think more globally rather than in a local situation? And and I think when you do an effective orientation where you're talking about all the things that we do, not just in your community but all around the world, and that we are a global organization and the impact we make, and you can do that in your travels to a zone meeting and to a cabinet meeting, or when you're picking the new member up, I think you can really sort of communicate them the global impact we have, and that will eventually start to expand their outlook, I think.
Yeah, our district also has a lot of participation in the youth exchange, and I think that's another way to start them on a small scale of thinking outside of the club and zone area, is when you try to promote sending our kids to another place and inviting kids from those other countries here. We start to then slowly talk about getting them to understand the cultural differences and how Lions can help on both ends, that eventually they start thinking a little bit wider than just, their own individual club or individual zone area.
Yeah. Barb says, finding out what a new member is passionate about and helping them get involved with a committee that would support that. So if you have a person who's really big on youth and helping kids and so on, effective speaking, youth exchange, a Leo club perhaps committee would be great for them. And that's really about understanding the new member, I think, and getting them right onto the project that they're most interested in.
Yeah, I see Len was talking about you know, the Lions are always looking for host families as well. So, you know, don't forget to share that with your new members in case they are the type that would love to host a youth in their home for, you know, the period of weeks that they come here for.
Yeah. You know, a few comments about tail twisters and how they make everyone feel at ease. Puts a little bit of fun into it, so it's not as much structure. Jim Schmidt is looking for the committee briefs for the from the Bradford Club. Maybe Jamie can share that with me, and I can pass it on to Jim.
And Tim reminded us about the peace posters as well. You know, if there are people that are maybe in the school system, you know, if they're teachers or vice presidents or principals, you know, there's another opportunity to make them start to understand the larger picture. Because when you see the posters from all around the world of these kids and how they draw or share their vision of our particular model for that year, it's always wonderful. I'm always so amazed at how well they do.
Dave has a great question. He says, hey, great job, Ruth. Too bad we can't convince more Lions to join in for this type of learning. Is it because they're afraid of webinars, or are they just being apathetic? And he really wishes he knew the answer. Well.
I wish I knew the answer to that as well. I've been doing training for Lions for quite a while, and I was so thankful for webinars when they started. I was doing webinars through my job at work first before I started doing them for Lions, and it made me realize very quickly how it would really sort of be convenient for people because they didn't have to travel. They could sit in their PJs if they wanted, and they could be comfortable. You know, so to me, I thought, wow, this would be a great way for volunteers, because to volunteers, our time is so precious. And so what a way of saving time by doing webinars.
Another thing too, Ruth, it allows me, I'm on holidays in another country, and I can sit here and listen to you as if you were sitting in the room right next to me. And you're right, it's just so convenient.
It is, and you know, technology today is so helpful in these regards, and so I'm not sure if it's a case of people being a little nervous about the technology, or like he said, you know, it's just a case of them not wanting to be involved.
Nancy has her hand up, so I'll just unmute her for a second. Nancy, you're unmuted.
Oh, hello. Well, this is going back, you know, a few feet in the proceedings. Talking about Probus, everybody gets their knickers in a twist about Probus. And there seems to be a real misunderstanding about the mandate of Probus in the community. Yes, they are an arm of Rotary. They are a social arm, and Dave and I have been members since about 2000. They do not do any public service whatsoever. They are strictly for the enjoyment and enhancement of the lifestyles of the members. So, yes, Probus is growing by leaps and bounds, and I'm not sure how many we've got in Muskoka, probably 6 or 7 very, very active clubs. And I'm sorry that Lions feel so put out because Probus is excelling and we are not. But everybody has to understand that they don't do any fundraising. They do not espouse any community initiatives. They are only there for the enjoyment of the members. So Lions have a completely different mandate, and the sooner that we all understand that and stop being ticked off because Probus is so successful. You know, it's a bridge. Get over it, and let's start getting people who are interested in community service.
You know,
Excellent comment, Nancy.
Nancy, though, I think we can learn a lot from Probus. I think
Yeah.
if Probus is so focused on social aspects, we can look and say what sort of social activities and things can we do to build into our Lions Club so that the Lions can be it for everybody. So,
But then there's a cost involved, Chris. I think it is a lot more expensive to participate in the social activities of Probus than to have social activities in Lions. They go to the theater, they'll go on a road trip for the day, or they do a lot of things that you're going to have to dip into your pocket to pay for. Hello?
yeah, I agree. I was just typing at the time. Sorry.
I just a comment, an observation that I see.
Yep, I
Well,
agree.
yeah, that is absolutely true, but it's like everything else. It is you decide whether you're going to do it or not.
Right.
And say they don't do any community service. We do, and that's what a lot of Lions who are griping about Probus don't understand.
Right, exactly.
Okay, I'm just going to move forward one more slide here as we're getting towards the end. We're hoping that you will do us a favor and give us some feedback. We're hoping that you look at the handout that we've given you, that guide. I'm hoping that you will actually use it, and after you've used it, I'm hoping you will give us some feedback. What we're looking for is to find out anything missing on there that should be included. Is there anything we should take off because it's not really, helpful to you? What can we do to make it better? Because we want to continue to share, and we want to share better products all the time. And the best way to do that is to find out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So we're really, really hoping that you can do that for us.
Yeah, there's also a post-webinar survey that you'll get after you complete the webinar, which will have a few questions as well that we can ask you. So,
great. We do want to thank you for attending the webinar and for answering our questions and for asking the questions that you did ask. It's been very helpful for us as well. If there's any specific questions you do have, you can type them into the question pane while the seminar is still going on, or as Chris said, you can put it into the survey that's going to come up afterwards, because that Chris will get that and he'll be able to share that with us. So if there's any particular feedback or questions that you have, let us know. Cliff, I'm not sure if that's a question you're asking, but he mentioned that many members feel that it was done previously and wasn't successful, so why try again? Are you talking about orientation?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not really sure if that's what he's referring to. Sometimes, okay. Well, I know that for some clubs, they automatically do it once a year. And what they do in order to keep it interesting is they get different people to do the presentations of it. And they, give that person a couple of months' notice so that person can research their section, and so when they present it differently than someone else did. So different people learn different ways, and it's made it more interesting that way. There's also the opportunity of attending the one at the region, so that not only are you learning about the orientation information, but you're also having an opportunity to meet and greet other Lions in the area. So I'm hoping those are some of the things that will help you. All righty.
Just
So
one other little,
again,
just one other comment about that. I find sometimes with orientation, you can sneak it in by doing a short little question and answer
Factoids.
thing and facts and so on at a meeting rather than necessarily doing a full-fledged orientation.
yeah. And I know the tail twisters sometimes are quite good at doing some orientation by asking questions and then finding people when they don't know the answer, and then sharing the correct answer afterwards. So that's another sort of small version of an orientation. Okay, so again, I'll ask you to please make sure you give us some feedback after you've actually used the guidebook so that we can improve it. I'm going to also show you some email addresses. If you need to get a hold of Chris or Kathy or myself directly, please feel free to use our email addresses. Also, we ask that if you have any suggestions on future webinars, please include that in the survey as well so that we can get working on those for you. Chris, is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I just had one great little last comment here from Dave Durant. He says, remember, someone from outside our club is an expert. So sometimes inviting somebody else in is huge. It will make it much more successful.
Yeah, it's nice to get a different person to come in and listen to their view on something like an orientation. Definitely.
Yeah.
I used to do mine as a bit of a Jeopardy sort of a quiz.
Yep, exactly. So, no, I think there was lots of great content tonight, and I think the participants and the attendees really interacted a lot, had lots of good questions and feedback. It was excellent.
Kathy, do you have anything to add? Oh, maybe we lost Kathy.
She might be drinking a margarita.
She probably is, and I hope she has one for me.
Yep. Nope, we might have lost her.
Okay. All right, Chris, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Thanks again, Ruth, for really participating and setting up this webinar. It was outstanding, and Ruth is a fantastic presenter, and we're very proud to have her here in District A12 now. And on behalf of Kathy and the GLT team and all the members of the global membership team here at District A12, I want to thank everyone for taking the time out to join in with us tonight. There were a couple of comments about looking for a Word copy of the presentation or of the guidebook, so I'll make sure I send that out too in case you need to do any tweaking to it that fits your needs. So I'll make sure you get a Word copy. And again, just remember to fill out the survey when you exit the webinar, and don't forget to join me on April 3rd for the final GMT webinar of the year. Anyway, I'd like to thank you again, and take care.
Thank you all. Good night.
Okay, it looks like everybody's off, except
Okay.
for we don't know where Kathy is, so I never quite know how long to sit there before I boot them all off. So
Just boot them all off.
I do.
Yeah.
I sit there for a little bit and I say enough of this and just kick them all off because some of them might be asleep and they're so they'll sit there for a while.
And I apologize about the wrong view at the beginning. I forgot I had switched my monitors, and I got two monitors going, and I was sharing the wrong one.
The presentation
So
view is excellent when you're doing training because you can see it, and it's I use it all the time too. But every now and then it gets stuck on. Even when I hook up another monitor, it'll pop up, and it's just anyway, no big deal. So we figured it out. So.
Yes, it all works out in the end.